Vaclani Barogo Shack? Stolovac. Class, Vac.
Rodeo. Storp.
Our first goal with Jard here was just busy work, making 250 simoleons, so instead we're going to focus on getting Betty her love by buying her a mirror to practice talking, and our usual boombox, coffee machine, and, well, this time a smoke alarm. I've had the captain of this boat catch himself on fire 3 times in other playthroughs. The first thing Betty wants is a charisma point so she doesn't stumble over herself while talking, which is why we got the mirror, because talking into the mirror is a great way to build charisma. The game next wants us to become friends with Nelson, and this is a golden opportunity to show off interaction while Sims use objects together, in this case a hot tub that just so happens to be shaped like a heart. They'll talk back and forth automatically and we'll gain relationship from it. In spite of this, we're somehow a -12 relationship, and I've never had this happen before. I definitely saw green pluses indicating our relationship was improving, not getting worse. So what did you do to the captain? What, was it at -30 before you got in the hot tub together? Well, we were trying to save that relationship. Jard started talking to Hector, which is unfortunate because he should have been drinking coffee instead, as you can tell by our needs, which means we're just going to have to pass out when we get back from work. After we get our relationship back in the positive with the captain, it's very easy to make friends with him, and then our next gold want for Betty is to start pumping iron. This is presumably to make her more attractive for him, but I don't think that's necessary. I could be romancing him right now. I don't think Betty understands the game mechanics very well. It's time for Hector, and his first gold want is to make out with somebody, and Timmy just showed up, so let's compliment him. Let's try to get this off to a good... we do so shitty that it boots us out of the conversation. We try again, but either Hector is incredibly unlikable or Timmy just outright hates the guy for no reason, because it takes a Herculean effort to actually get our friendship up to 40. I'm not sure if this romance is going to work out. Meanwhile, Betty's been pumping iron this whole time, which left her with 4 body, while before I think she was at 0, so that's kinda hilarious, but our needs have suffered a little bit. Look, Betty, the floor is soaked already, so you drink that coffee, suck it up, and piss yourself. We also managed to get Jard to the coffee machine just before he passes out. We're going for a no-sleep run here. We leave Jard to tend to the rest of his needs and invite Timmy over, because I haven't given up on Hector yet. It's time to fulfill Jard's next gold want while we wait for Timmy, and his gold want is to change wardrobe. I think after a few modifications to this jacket, it ends up looking rather nice, especially for such a watery setting. Meanwhile, Hector has nothing to do, so he hopelessly just wanders around outside waiting for Timmy, staring at the road, waiting for him to show up. Look at the poor sap. I mean, yeah, he only wants to make out with someone so he can say he did it, but why should we deny him his life goals? While we're in the middle of a piss, we see Timmy arrive and start talking to someone else. No, we didn't wait for you to get here so that way you could romance somebody else, buddy. Unfortunately for us, Timmy rejects every single romantic gesture we make for him, and I think maybe at first the problem is just that our relationship isn't up high enough. After failing even the basic talk command a few times, we get up to 50 and try again, but it's still not working. After failing the basic talk command again, I start to think maybe it's not worth it. Jard's next gold want is to buy an object worth over 300 simoleons. I get the impression that his goals for this place are supposed to indicate that he's mostly here to relax. I guess this is a cruise ship. After we leave Jard alone again for a moment, he decides the best thing to do while he's low on bladder is to make and eat food? I question the AI's decisions. Finally back to Betty, her next gold want is to make a food with aphrodisiac properties, which means we need to harvest fruit from an optional source, like the fruit tree. That's as simple as buying it and then selecting harvest, and the game also gave us a recipe to use for aphrodisiac food. Our next goal is to give food to Nelson, and of course we're going to try and give him the aphrodisiac. We even chase him into the bathroom to this end, and around the whole boat several times in a circle. It's kind of a weird dance, he just won't accept it, until finally he does. Jard's off to work again, but we can go ahead and fulfill one of his gold wants right now while he's getting dressed. He just wants to purchase a blender, which would open up more cooking properties, but we're really not interested in that. While Jard's gone, Betty wants even more charisma, and apparently kissing Amore is an even better way to generate that. Keep this in mind for real life. Betty next wants to buy a picture to set the mood, and I think placing a big old picture of our face right in the main room, that ought to set the mood pretty good. Who needs aphrodisiac food when you have pictures of Jard hanging around? Now it's time to actually romance Nelson, which, as I tried to tell Betty, is very easy. She didn't have to run around doing all this other stuff, but whatever, I guess it's what she wanted. So after we make out with Nelson, we unlock our final gold want for Betty, which is to marry the guy. Seems a little fast for me, but let's get it over with. Of course he says yes, because it's very easy to make someone marry you in this game, and now that they're happy and together, we get a message from Don Treadwell telling us that he's not our friend anymore. I'm sorry, Don, but when we're making people's dreams come true, we just don't have time to talk to you. It's barely been like 4 days, chill out, man. Now that we helped Betty get from 0 to married in record time, we can leave for the new location, but I'm gonna give Hector one last go. His goals are optional, so we don't have to complete them, but I want to get him to at least make out with somebody. We talk briefly on the phone with Don to try and keep our relationship stable, and then it's all aboard the romance train. There's no one here that's single besides Jard, so Hector has to make do with trying to romance the main character. Apparently Hector really is an asshole though, because Jard is really easy to talk to and they still have trouble getting along. Through the magic of spamming and Jard's own romantic aspiration want, we finally get close enough that eventually, Hector finally gets to make out with somebody. And of course his next order of business is to immediately propose, because who wouldn't fall in love with Jard? Jard is a very caring person. Did you see all those people he helped indirectly through our god hand? What calming music as we break the guy's heart into tiny pieces. And Hector's next one is to spin the bottle, but we have to buy that and it costs money, and we're just gonna book it. Get out of here. You may be wondering why we haven't gotten any more promotions yet, and don't worry, the next location is going to be a doozy. It's going to be the location, the one we spend the largest amount of time on for several reasons. As with last time, we let the people here keep almost everything. We only take our boombox and our espresso machine and the weightlifting machine, and they can have everything else, even that nice virtual golfing simulator we never used. So yeah, that about wraps things up here, and we're headed into a life-changing adventure next time. Even though Jard doesn't know it, even though I didn't know it, we're headed into a life-changing journey.